IVM.
Hi.
Whatever.
My God, you're in such a funk today.
I'm in such a funk. On the way up, even this guy just looked at me and he's like, tired today.
What?
That was
Okay.
his greeting to me. Tired today. I was like, yeah.
That should be a greeting. Huh?
I'm not tired. I'm just having a rough
Sir,
week.
tired today. It's so suggestive.
That is such a... At work, so many times you go like, oh, I'm so tired today. कल रात को क्या किया? And I'm like, 4 बजे तक मैंने Netflix देखा.
That's like if you're in college, you know, you
There
say,
is that.
yeah.
There's just some sort of promiscuity that some girls in my office assume I have because I'm into boys. So they assume that, oh, if he's tired, then last night they'll scan my neck for like hickeys and shit. Fuck you all.
That's so cute.
It's not cute at all.
I mean,
it's not cute at all.
In that sense of the term.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how's your week been?
Confusing.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's
Why? What's like,
confusing because
what's
there
up?
was good also, there was bad also. I'll get the bad stuff out of the way. For the past 2-3 weeks, I've been just sleeping on something, signing it off as vertigo. I kept thinking, oh, if I look to the right, I get dizzy and whatever. So I just kept thinking it's vertigo, and I'd not do anything about it. Then I finally got it checked, and the doctor was like, hey, you might want a neurosurgeon to look at this because apparently my right side eye, my pupils are not dilating. And he said, all your symptoms that you're saying are of vertigo, but I'd really like to get a neurosurgeon to check this because that's not normal. I'm not stressed about that. It's just like, no. I don't want.
It's too inconvenient right now.
Yeah, I don't mind a skin rash or
Yeah.
like a minor stub toe. Or,
Yeah, I was whining about, I'm on the verge of like leaving for a vacation and I've been this really whiny Rachel Green throughout and I've been saying, why do bad things happen only to me?
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
For those who are
get
listening,
that.
Sunetro is going to a lovely
Oh, fuck off. No, just
holiday
let's
to
not,
New York
quiet.
for 2 to 3 weeks.
That's
and
shush.
he's making us feel shit about our lives because
My
we don't
only
even
vacation this year.
My only
So it's
vacation
okay.
this year was to Matunga. So fuck So fuck you, okay? Sunetro, just chupchap go to New York, sleep with the best, hottest men. Yeah.
All right.
Do you feel Grindr will be better there?
Grindr's really... so I've been to San Francisco and Grindr is very... I wouldn't say in your face. It's just very aggressive. Like it's way too aggressive for my taste. It's just like dick pic.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, calm down, Mary.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more about just have a conversation and then get it started.
But isn't that everywhere? Because I'll tell you what, a lot of times when I chat with boys who are in Nagpur and Nashik, in small towns basically, and so many times they're like, oh, you're so lucky you live in Bombay, the men must be so nice. And I'm like, no,
It's
honey, this is a
not.
classic
Yeah.
grass is greener on
Oh
the
my
other
God,
side
yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Because in fact, it's more lonely to live in a city.
I agree,
And
right?
then you realize that everybody is a dick around you.
Yeah.
So you even feel worse because
Yeah.
you at least are in like a 10 gay people per square kilometer area and
Yeah.
you know, they might be terrible people.
Yeah, but like you'll still make it happen. Like make something happen.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
here sometimes you feel like fuck. You're on Tinder
10,
and you're
10
on
feet
Bumble
away there's
and-
someone, but you just like fuck that. Like I,
mean,
don't
and
want
that's
to.
the thing. This weekend I was in Pune and I was a little bored and I'm on Tinder, I'm on Bumble, I'm on Hinge, I'm on Grindr, and I literally met nobody. Even though I spoke to like 40 men maybe in a span of 3 days because I was so bored. Trust me, I had nothing to. I had a great time. I went to chill with my dad and a lot of that happened.
Yeah.
But my dad's at an age where a majority of his time is spent sleeping. So I was like on these apps and I was like, fuck, you know, you think like, oh, because I always have this little, when I go to Pune, maybe, you know, and especially now Symbiosis is near my house. And so I always assume that there'll be some change of like men, but which again, when I zoom out of what I'm saying right now, it's so trivial, all of this.
Yeah,
like,
I know,
what
but
the fuck?
So why don't we talk about that today.
Sure.
Just because experiences in cities and like smaller towns and tier 2 and tier 2 cities are very, very different. Oh my God, that's marketing jargon. Do not make fun of me. It's just part of my vocabulary. You've grown up in Pune?
I grew up in Pune. Yeah.
And what was it like? I mean, how
growing
different
up gay in Pune?
No, just how different do you think it would have been, life would have been in Bombay? If you grew up in Bombay, or what changed for you? How did the experience change for you, or did it change for you?
There's no way to answer that. I can't see how my life would have been marginally or exponentially different having grown in either city and having lived in both cities. But I did feel back then, how was it like growing up in Pune? It was great. I always saw Pune as a cutoff. And it was cut off in that sense. And I'm talking, I moved to Pune in 1988, okay? This is in a time where
I was 1 year old.
Oh, I was just 1 year old too. Shut the fuck up. I was 4 years old, okay? But I'm saying this is in a time when...
Do you remember that? Like,
I do. I remember so much from that time because... Here's the deal. My dad had a choice. We lived in Bombay the first 4 years, and then my dad my parents back then were fed up of city life. So imagine now what we are putting ourselves through.
Wow.
But back then my mom and my dad had some sort of a this, and my dad had an option of Belgaum and Pune. And somehow some better sense prevailed, and my dad chose Pune, thank God, because I've Googled Belgaum very recently, and I don't think I would have loved living there. But Pune was fucking green. The weather was and is still amazing.
I mean, comparatively, yes, definitely.
And it's just 3 hours from Bombay. And not that, again, to come back to your question, what was it like growing up in Pune? I felt like Pune had its own cool crowd. Growing up, like, it had everything minus the clutter and the clusterfuck of a city, basically. So whether right from like your kitty parties to like your friends who are into the kind of pop culture, like, you know, there wasn't, we weren't like devoid of anything that, I don't know what makes a person cool, but we were caught up. We were caught up with everything, I felt, culturally. Whether it was the arts, again, because Pune is such an educational hub, so forever, like, whether it's Symbiosis or Vadia, whatever, isn't Pune the Oxford of the East? Isn't that what it's, West?
Oxford of the West. Oxford of the East. Because we are in East, we are the Far East.
Aren't we in the West?
No,
I'm
darling.
so bad at
USA
this.
is the West.
So obviously the Oxford of the
West.
East/West failed me, and I don't even know the difference between the two. But it was very fun. I wouldn't have had it any other way. I don't know. I felt like there was some sort of like vibe that Pune had, that it was like a very... You had your drinking hubs and you had your like cool burger joints.
So it's not... I mean, Pune, I would say, isn't very different from Bombay, except that it's just like not on steroids. Like, it's not a city on steroids.
Even now
it's
sometimes
what cities ideally should be. You know, it's calm. It's not helter skelter. Bombay is just like another end of the spectrum. It's like the far end of the spectrum. So
Bombay is a drug. I feel like even when I'm in Pune, sometimes like. I've just got off the bus and I'm about to go home, and within 2 hours I'm starting to feel like what to do next. What do I do next? Like, or if it's night, it's 7 and I'm like, oh my God, it's just 7 o'clock in the evening. Like, why is the sun already out at 5 in the evening? Like that kind of shit. But also, I went at a time right now, it was drizzling all over. So
oh my God, what's with
But
the
it was like, I literally didn't do jack shit for 3 days. I was just bumming out at home, and I realized that it's still slow in that sense. But if you step out in Pune, I feel like it's matching up to Bombay a little. In terms of infrastructure, it's fuck all. In terms of traffic, it's fuck all. In terms of the number of restaurants, that's what I'm saying. I moved to Pune in a time where if your mom made curry and your dad forgot to get bread, you just drink the curry as soup. That's it. Because the closest bread shop is like fucking half an hour away. And now I checked on Zomato, there were 458 restaurants in my area alone. Leave alone in Pune, in Viman Nagar. You know Viman Nagar.
Of course.
Viman Nagar alone had 458 restaurants. And so I was like, what the fuck? I miss it, but I feel like I miss it from a point of view of nostalgia.
My experience is, I mean, I honestly would choose the helter-skelter, crazy city life.
You wish you
any
would
given day.
have had Bombay early on in your
Well,
life.
yes.
From Ranchi. You grew up in
Yes.
Ranchi.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yes. Because again, like this is proper disclaimers. This is just my opinion. I grew up in Ranchi, and maybe Ranchi lovers will absolutely hate on me after this, but
Who are Ranchi lovers? Please message us, Ranchi
Yeah.
lovers. Is that a Facebook group? Ranchi
don't make
lovers?
fun of people. Everyone has a right to love or hate a city, but
Sure.
but Ranchi was. I mean, it was idyllic in a way because it was lush, green, quiet, calm. Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
A familial sort of a vibe. While that persisted, what was suffocating was that everyone knew everyone, and everyone had to be in everyone's business, and
Nosy.
and it was a very insulated sort of a setup where there was one reality which everyone abided by and adhered to. This is the kind of future that's chalked out for everyone, and you have one choice or the other, and there is no room for wiggling out of that at all unless and until you really, really run away from that place. So
How many years did you live in Ranchi?
so I was there till I turned 15.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, my formative years were there, and it was suffocating beyond a point because I was someone who really, really was interested in
A man
arts.
of the world.
Again, like I don't want to almost I
No,
don't
no,
want to
no, I get
don't
it,
want
I
to
get it.
put it on
Yeah.
a pedestal, but
Yeah.
all I want to say is my interests were very, very different from everyone else's. Everyone else was just like jizzing off on cricket, and I just wasn't interested at all. And so what happens to people who have their own interests? You don't get to pursue them, and if you try pursuing them, then you're very much a pariah, and as a result of that, you're just scared of being different, and that's not a reality you want to grow up around. And there are so many people, and you know who you are. Then so many people from small towns who've written to me ever since the show started, who've spoken about their experiences in small towns and how they wish, because everyone sees Bombay as this like
Everyone's with the times, everybody's caught up, and you can be who you want.
yeah, I agree.
No, but
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I had this beautiful experience. I don't know whether I've spoken about it before, but one of my first solo trips, like solo as in completely by myself, I remember I had done a hop, skip, jump. I'd taken like 14 days off. This was when I was like 20 or something. I was working that time. I had just started working while I was in college. I'd taken 14, 15 days off, and I remember going to Kashmir and then going to Pune because I had a couple of friends over there, and then visiting Bombay for
Brief.
like 2 days or so. And I had a friend who stayed here, and we wanted we wanted to hook up and stuff. So
Sorry, how old are you at this point?
20.
Okay.
And we knew each other, so he was 26ish. So so I remember I was staying with him. We had he showed me around and all of that. We went out for dinner one day, and then I remember Goregaon station. He lived in Goregaon, and at Goregaon station he was just holding my hand, just playing with my fingers as we were walking back home, his house. And this these two boys, very evidently dripping with machismo, walking towards us, and I had cold sweat because I experiences
You're gonna
of
be a part of a hate crime.
yeah, and I've faced enough just like Adam teasing and all of that. So I've faced enough of that to know that something's coming. And you won't believe what happened. These two
Even
guys,
they were gay and
no,
orgy.
they weren't. No, they weren't.
Oh, damn it.
They passed by. They smiled at us, and one of them said, "Cute couple," and they walked past.
See.
And I was like, if this city is how it is, this is how it is.
Yeah.
This is where I should be. This is, if I have to work anywhere in India, this is where I want to be. And that day onwards, I know the city is so unforgiving in terms of, it's relentless. It takes a toll on you, but it lets you be who you want to be. And I cannot put a price on that.
Yeah.
And that's where, I mean, I guess there's nostalgia because you've not seen the flip side of the,
here's the deal.
small town.
I don't want to zip past a few years ahead of what you're saying, but I feel like, okay, first things first, when you said you felt you were different in a small city and that was stifling to you, this is something I say a lot, but I always feel like all your perceptions are forged in all your past experiences. Like everything you perceive is going to happen is based on how you've lived your past, right?
Yeah, but that's a present experience when it happened, right?
Yeah,
it's
but
not
I feel
about,
like
I don't think that informs
I immediately,
you at all.
back then, even when I did not see it as an option to feel stifled, because I immediately enjoyed being the unique one. Like, I like being the different one.
It's convenient to say that when you're not facing physical hate.
I'm only saying this in the hope that if there is someone listening in a small city,
it's great to believe
like,
that. But if you're facing something that's almost verging on physical abuse, you better fucking get out of there.
I get it. Yeah. Like, I could be coming from a place of privilege, obviously.
Because what do? Just shut up and say, oh, I'm going to take it.
But that doesn't mean I did not have my share of like rough ups just because of how I was and who I was and all of that. I just felt like, again, I somehow attracted the right, my honesty and my authenticity was so intact. I still feel it is, and this sounds like a little bit of showing off, but like, I just felt it's been so intact throughout my life that I somehow always attracted the kind of people who would be able to consume me as a person. Does that make sense? All my friends were always like never.
But this is like saying, if you're in a toxic relationship, then just like
are we about to have our first fight?
No, this is not.
Do you want to fight, bitch?
It's just about saying, if there is a toxic relationship, it's literally that. If you're in a toxic environment, what do you do? Just continue dealing with it, or remove yourself from that situation.
That's the thing. I get what you're saying, because so many times I'm living in Bombay and I feel like I'm not cut out for this life. I'm an international gay. The world needs to know who I am and listen to what I have to say. So I get it. In that sense, I guess your dreams are not limited. But here's the deal. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I feel like these are just the next steps that you're craving. What happens is, like our initial conversation we are having before we started the podcast, was that like the grass is greener on the other side, right? So many times you feel like, oh my God, I need to be in a place that I'm open and I can be myself and all of that. But then what happens when you're in a place that's open, like we are right now? We've lived in Bombay for a considerable amount of time. And now our anxieties are entirely new, that, oh my God, like...
You trade one thing for the other and you make an informed choice, right?
Sure.
Isn't that what it is? Yeah. Because I would never want to go back to that. Like, never ever. Yeah. So also, like, I also stayed in Calcutta for long enough. Calcutta was not traumatic by any means. At the same time, I still wouldn't go back to Calcutta either. It's a trade-off.
You found your city.
Calcutta, if I stayed in Calcutta today, I'd be like 20,000 times less anxious.
Sure.
But I still wouldn't pick that. Yeah. At least as of
I
today.
toy around with the idea of leaving the city all the time. So
no, and that would be completely justified. Yeah. There's so many people who are part of my team, kids, 22, 23-year-olds. Yeah. I wish, we could have taken these informed, strong, decisions when we were younger. They come to me and say, okay, the Bombay experience for me is, I've had it. I'm done with it. I want to move away. It's not my place to tell them, oh, you have no idea what you're letting go of. You have no idea the career chart. Like, I don't have a right to say that, because to each his own. Yeah. If there is something that's not working for them, clearly there's something toxic. They're just making that choice to remove themselves from the toxicity. It's just that. And I think there are toxicity levels in both, the most gay friendly cities out there. I mean, the number of hate crimes that happen in like a San Francisco, which is like the crown jewel of gay cities, it's unimaginable. But then what do? Like you don't stay there. It's a toss up.
Yeah.
What would you pick? Like, you would obviously pick a calmer city.
I'd pick a calmer city. Again, I'm not seeing
Like a
any of this
Bangalore,
from
for
the lens
example.
of my sexuality.
No,
That's
of course,
the thing.
yeah.
I feel like it's the more I live in Bombay, the more I logically and logistically and financially and by health and in terms of everything.
It takes a lot from you.
The other day I had a realization that if I just count the amount of rent I've paid in the past 10 years, I've earned a crore. I've earned a crore in my life.
It's insane, yeah.
And I never thought that, oh my God, in this lifetime I've already earned a crore.
Yeah.
But today, if you ask me, I'm still as broke as I was the day I moved to Bombay. Like, I'm literally just as broke because the thing is, and I get it, right? I get the appeal of living in the city also because you feel terrified you'll be cut off and you feel terrified that all the fun stuff will end and all the amenities and the Ubers and the Starbuckses and everything is suddenly... So I feel it's, for me to sit behind a desk, I feel like I'm being idyllic. Like, oh my God, I would love to sit in... I know if I move to a small town also, within 10 minutes I'll be like, Wi-Fi chale gaya. Oh my God,
but like
what the fuck?
midway, what about midway, like a Bangalore? Or is that something that, like a Nagpur? Have you been to Nagpur?
I have.
Nagpur is one of those places which is...
I can't think. I feel like I'm ready for some kind of a change, and I'm also reaching a point in life where I'm starting to be okay with living in Bombay because I've realized that it's my idea that the city I live in should decide how I constantly feel is changing now, if that makes any sense. I feel like whether I'm in a Goa or whether I'm in Kashmir or whether I'm in Bombay.
That's a very important point.
Yeah, whether I'm in Bombay. I just want to be my thirst or the things that I want to be proud of and successful at. I feel like that can be done because again the world is connected. Ever since the World Wide Web has happened, today I can be an amazing web series writer sitting in Himachal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have to be hyper connected in the matrix to a city to feel I get it, it's convenient because meetings are here and all of that, but I feel like it's not a fast stretch.
Again, it's a toss up, right? Do you want to be someone who's working on like 20 projects in a month, or do you want that choice if
I want to be a person who's
okay to say no when they're not ready for a project, like, and
again
it's
I just want to be a person who, when I hit my head to the fucking pillow in the night, I just want to feel utilized and that I've applied myself and that I have done something that I actually enjoy doing, which I feel a lot of times if you don't find in the city, the burn can be terrible, because then the struggle is real. You just feel like I'm constantly doing this is my 8th job, what the hell is this, like all my friends are going through this, what the fuck is happening, there are no freelancing jobs, there are no real jobs, I feel the burn is extra. I feel like there's some sort of like connecting to, I won't say just nature, but I feel like there's some sort of unplugging that happens when you're in a smaller, again, I don't know, when you say smaller city, I mean like I know I can't move back to Pune, but that's because that means I'm in the same city with my parents, which is like,
that's what I was saying, like maybe
half my anxiety is if my parents are in the same city but my shrink is in another city, that's like 50% of my anxiety, because I know I'll need to see my shrink all the time if I'm living in the same city as my parents. But I feel like we've veered away in this conversation. I'd like to more discuss about what it's like again, being LGBTQIA+, in a small city as opposed to a bigger city. Because in retrospect, I feel like my life was just the same in both cities. I don't feel like there was a sudden gas to the pedal. Now I'm in Bombay. Oh my God, I'm hooking up a lot. My amount of relationships have changed. The quality of none of that. I just felt like I equally fell in love with the same number of boys that I did back in a small city as I did. And I feel I would have been just as happy because I don't think they are intertwined in any way. The environment that you're in and what you seek. Because I know, again, I feel like a lot of this...
Very different for me. It's extremely different. I mean, like the last time I was in Ranchi was 3 years back. Oh my God, it's a whole different world. It's you can't even compare being in Bombay and being in Ranchi.
Sure.
As in,
what is lacking? Tell me what is lacking.
Openness.
Okay.
There was just like claustrophobic anonymity everywhere, and the idea that it's the only way to be queer is under the sheets, under the covers, under the radar,
Behind closed doors.
behind closed doors, and that's the only way. Like
Back in the closet.
Totally,
Yeah.
and there is no other way to exist. So, what do you do? What
I
do
don't know.
like?
Even
It's just,
but that's the thing. I'm amazed that you're saying this, because while I was in Pune and I was on all these apps and I spoke to like fucking 50 people, one of my common questions I ask the person is, "Are you out yet?" You know, because I feel
it's
like,
very important for
and
me.
I have to say, not a single person said they're out. Everybody's still in the closet.
And what about, like, does that put you off?
It's not like it's something that puts me off.
Is it a deal breaker when it comes to
it's not
sex?
It's not a deal breaker. It's not a deal breaker for sure, but it just is an immediate indication of how much, if this became something real, it's an indication of how much work I might have to put in, because I know the kind of I'm at that point where I can't be someone's fucking coach, like,
that's why it's a deal breaker for me.
You need to come to terms with it, and I'm not. If the person's worth it, and if they bring some different kind of value, and then they've not figured out coming out and all, I'm totally
that's different.
in it.
Yeah,
I'm totally in it. But like, I just feel like if you're I'm about to be very judgmental, but if you're under 24 and your frontal cortex has not fully developed, and you're not out yet, and you use terrible grammar, and you feel like, I can't do that anymore. I can't. Shit. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna
then.
You know what I mean?
No, but I understand where you're coming from.
It's just
my POV,
to find someone with emotional depth.
You just want people who match your wavelength and match your culture.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Guess.
It's not an unfair ask. Matching your culture is not an unfair ask. For me, for example, someone who's not out of the closet is a no-go. It's absolutely a no-go. Because I think the conversation never veers into a respect. It hasn't ever. Whenever I have, and this is obviously by experience, it's never veered into a direction which is respectful. It is always no. And there is a lot of, obviously, because of omission of, experiences, we are never on the same page about a lot of things. There are a lot of things that I believe.
I have been in a relationship with someone who wasn't out, and I kind of remember him having some sort of, I wouldn't say the word animosity, but there was always some sort of disconnect in the fact that, oh, you don't know what it's like for me. I got that a lot. Like, and
Did it annoy
in
you?
the most trivial ways, like, for example, if we had to go for a little holiday to Mahabaleshwar, let's say, like, it's a 2-3 day trip, right?
Yeah.
Now he can perfectly say, oh, it's a college thing, or it's something.
man.
But the fact that he has to lie, first of all, was a bit of it was jarring for me.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be a part of someone's lie, but sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is that his parents kind of knew me as his friend. So the worst part is, and they really liked me. So they had my number and they would call me sometimes, when he doesn't answer. And suddenly I'm feeling like I'm a part of this lie that I'm not there anymore, where I have to lie in any way. Like, I can't lie in my fucking appraisal meeting. So leave alone. I'm going to lie to someone's parents saying, oh, he's gone to the bathroom right now. He can't answer. I can't do that shit.
Yeah.
And, I just felt like he always had this little, you don't know what it's like for me.
Now, I was in a relationship with someone who, was apparently ostensibly straight before that. And we kind of grew very close. And there was a lot of coaching and hand-holding about, oh, this is what the queer experience is. But I kind of figured when things were not going to work out on a day when also this person was from a small town and we were like later on in a bigger city. And this person just turned around and one day said, so thinking about the future, it would be fine, right, if I was with a woman and we continued this.
Like he wanted to appease
to
his
the
parents,
world.
get married and
Yes.
all. But
Yeah,
can you be a side?
And for a moment I was gobsmacked. I was like, how the fuck does this person not get the number of wrongs in that number of politically incorrect things to an out game man? Like, then how has he not figured that? And then I realized it's the experience.
Okay.
This is his experience. He doesn't know better. This is what he's been taught. This is what he's been trained, and that's who he is even today. Kya kare? What are we supposed to do? Now, this is what happens with small towns. And I'm not saying, this is a land of hillbillies. But what I am saying, though, is you do not get exposure. You do not see a side of the world that would show you. You are not represented when you're in a small town. And believe me, even if you're saying, there's World Wide Web and all of that, still, even till date.
That's the thing. See, again, I'm listening to your talk and I'm surprised I did not bring this up. One of my closest fuck buddies, who's no longer in the country, one of my most adorable. I love him. Even right now when I'm just thinking of him, I'm just have some weird fuzzy fondness for him, okay? He's from an ultra-Orthodox Muslim family, okay? And by ultra-Orthodox, I mean you can't wear shorts at home. You can't have music on your phone.
Which city? As in city,
Bombay.
town?
Lives 3 buildings away from me. Gay boy. Okay? Now this is where it gets mental, right? His bride was chosen when she was 12. When he was 16, his bride, who he's supposed to marry, is already chosen somewhere, And these are some of the things he told us was just crazy. And I actually Googled these things and wow, these are actual some of
things
the
that happen.
Like you can't draw if you draw anything, you can't draw anything animate. You can only draw inanimate objects. I did not know this was
that's part of the religion.
Islam.
That's why there are
I did not know that.
There are no portraits. There are just there's just typography.
You can draw a chair. You can draw like what the fuck? Who wants to draw a chair? But he was so orthodox when he met me, and the thing is, I don't want to take credit for it, but he started coming over and the first thing he realized, oh my God, this boy lives with a girl and they are not married and this girl smokes up and she drinks. And suddenly we were this world that he started unraveling. He started coming over a lot. He was hanging out at our place all the time. And we were having sex. And so much so that there was a time when he was inside me, I'm not even kidding, in my ass, and the azan played. There's a mosque near my house, and the azan played, and he immediately took his penis out and he was like, you know what, sorry, I can't. He was that rigid to now, where he's got his first job, he's away from his family, and now he's starting to figure out that, oh my God, I don't want to get married. When I would ask him back then, he was very like, that's my trajectory of life. I'm having fun with boys and whatever this is, but once I get married, obviously I'm going to stop. I'll pop like 5 kids and it's all going to sort itself out. But I would I almost took his name, I can't. But I was like, listen, you need to just don't so quickly give in to what's happening, or like, even though it might make sense to you and you might think that what your parents want. And in a lot of ways, I felt like it is not my place to give him that kind of knowledge. Maybe this is the best life for him if he just gets married or whatever. And I would ask him very personal questions a lot of times, like, would you, okay, let's say you're married, 4 fucking kids, would you have sex with a man and not tell your wife? Like, or would you tell her and stuff like that? I would really ask him all these questions because it was so, I wanted to get his psychology, how does something like that work? Now he's like a fucking bottom in the Middle East, you know what I mean? And he's evolved, So, again, coming back to what you're saying,
right? That's
the
what
idea that I feel like what happens is we tend to see everything a little black and white, and here I am living in Bombay, in Bandra, and 3 buildings down there's a boy who's going through that. I'm literally talking about someone who, if his curfew at home is 10:30, and every minute that he's late, he has to, as punishment, read 4 chapters or 4 pages of the Quran. That's how, like, I'm talking. Like, you know what I mean? That's how rigid his parents are. So
my reading of the situation is this. Sure, it's not maybe about small towns, and it's about exposure and lack of exposure. Because here, there's someone who moved from a place of lack of exposure to being exposed to a very different reality of how life could be, how others can exist. And till you see that, till you get that in front of your eyes, till you see that live example, how do you know that you can even be that? That's the problem with the smaller places, that you never see that example. You only see caricatures everywhere. You only hear jokes.
But I guess that's where we come in, right? As
No, it's
GAYBCD.
that's what
host. I feel like if you're...
It's so important. That's why visibility is so important.
I feel what the message we can give, and even though this is not the end of the episode, I just feel like one of the messages we can give is, if you feel conflicted or like you feel like you're in the wrong place, or what you're feeling is wrong in some way because of the place you're born in and you're living in, and you're in a small town and nobody would understand, I feel like don't beat yourself up is where you're going, because somehow life has a way of working out. If you move to a big city, you live in the same city, but like,
do something about it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's so important. Either find people who feed the, you know, that alternative side to you, or find a place that allows you to be who you are. But yeah, it's important to not stay in stasis.
There are people.
Of course. I mean,
I can just imagine if, like, today I live in a small ass city and I already feel stifled by my environment, and then I go on a grinder and everybody is also a dick there.
Yeah.
I can just feel like how toxic it might feel growing up in a city like, or in a situation like that. But it gets better as long as you stick to your truth and you know what you're feeling is not abnormal or whatever in any sense. I feel like it'll always iron itself out.
With very proactive...
Yeah, the focus should be what
can I change? What can I do?
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, we'll just take a quick teensy little break and we'll be back.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, why aren't you? Please do. It's very important. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Would also like to thank our sponsors, Storytel and Intel. I also just wanted to add a brief note to our listeners. We've recently changed some of our show's hosting platforms, and if you're having any issues with your subscriptions, please do resubscribe to the shows and everything should work fine from there. We have a little bit of an announcement to make. Our Kannada podcast Thala Harate turns 50 episodes old this week. Alok Prasanna Kumar and Saryu Natarajan of the Ganatantra podcast joined Pawan for a 3-episode special as they discussed the CAA, NRC, and the freedom to protest in episodes 50, 51, and 52. So if you speak Kannada, why aren't you listening to that show? Also on Cyrus Says this week, Cyrus is joined by stand-up comedian and winner of the Mrs. India Earth pageant, Deepa Javeri. They talk about what goes behind the scenes at a beauty contest, how she entered comedy at a late stage in life, and how her family views her career choices. On Advertising is Dead, Varun sits down with longtime friend, photographer, and filmmaker Avinash Jay Singh. They talk about Avinash's process while on shoots, how he likes working with smaller teams if possible, and how advertising has changed for filmmakers and photographers in this internet age. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh are joined by Kushal Bhagia, CEO of First Check. They take a look at the world of venture capital and discuss how a VC firm works. On 9XM Soundcast, Eva is joined by composer duo Salim and Suleiman. They talk about how to produce a great Bollywood score and their upcoming projects. On Simplified, Chuck, Shriketh and Tony continue with part 3 of the 2019 recap. Join them as they talk about climate activism, China and India's political landscapes. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks about how we as a society have lessened twisting and turning of our spine as a whole and why it's important to do so. On Litnama, Lakshmi is joined by spoken word poet Jackie Thakkar, who talks about the expanding scene of spoken word today, the impact it creates, and the monetization required for these new art forms. On Hedges and Sludges, host DJ Ashwin and Varun talk about the India vs Sri Lanka match in Guwahati, 4-day test matches, the Cricinfo Cricketer of the Year Hardik Pandya's engagement, and a whole lot more. On What a Player, Siddharth and Mikhail run down their sports predictions for this year, that is 2020. Listen in for educated predictions in the world of cricket, tennis, football, and darts. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Welcome back to Okay, you wanna? I was gonna do a little welcome back to GAYBCD. Whether you're listening to this in a small town or a big city, it's shitty everywhere. So deal with it.
Yes. But speaking of that, what's your dating experience been like in compared to Pune.
Yeah, I guess that's
like dating,
better.
not like hooking up, but like dating experience. And why do you think that's been better or worse?
Oof. I don't know, man. I really don't know. Today I'm not being able to put a finger on things. I know the answer, but I can't put a finger on. So I feel like, here's the deal. I try to date both in Pune and in Bombay, right? And I guess in Bombay, it's more okay. The chances of forging any sort of connection is easier. Let's just start there. And again, I don't think I'm the right person to talk about this because I'm from Pune, which is not like a cut-off like village. You know what I mean? True. Even though, can I say this? I was once watching a Padma Lakshmi documentary. She was traveling around India.
The food and all that, right?
Yeah, it was a food show.
There's a Hyderabad episode, like Hyderabadi
she
biryani.
Went all over India.
Oh my God.
There was a Hyderabadi biryani episode.
And I love that.
Where one chacha makes a giant patila.
And I remember she
my mouth's
bangs. That biryani was.
Yeah, but that bitch, who I love, by the way, I follow her everywhere.
Yeah,
but
I love her.
I remember when she was talking about Pune, she goes like, around 100 kilometers away from Bombay is a small village of Pune.
You see, small village of Pune.
And I'm sitting in Pune and I spat my fucking chai with fucking rose essence in it. Like, bitch, I have rose essence in my chai. Shut the fuck up.
Usko Ranchi bulao na, then she'll understand what a village is.
I feel like I'm not in a place to talk about, because I don't think there was such a contrast in both the cities. I get it. There's still a difference between. I guess it's more of a difference in time and the time I grew up in. In 90s Pune and 90s Bombay were obviously, there was a gap. You know what I mean? In terms of pace of life and all of that. But there was nothing like. I don't feel like I struggled with like, oh my God, my city has no cyber cafes. I never had that issue. Like, in fact, because Pune, so you have the Osho commune, so you have all these Firangs.
Yeah.
Is Firangs the right? Is it insensitive to say nowadays? Sometimes someone told me the other day, you can't say expat. I'd not say expat, but apparently expat is a bad word.
Oh, like, please.
I get it.
It is an expatriate. Like,
I get it, but it's not the right term to say. So we'll go with Firang.
Sure.
So Pune was actually pretty forward in that sense because we had like all of it, like in terms of. So dating experience, I felt like the number of men in Bombay is suddenly quadrupled. I don't know why.
Yeah, of course.
Which again, I can't comment on because once symbiosis happened in Pune, suddenly like the number of gay boys who are fucking in design school 10 minutes away from, not even 10 minutes, like a stone's throw away from my house. I was like, okay. Like now there are gay boys everywhere.
Yeah.
There was no this. I remember the first date I tried to go on, I was on Planet Romeo
then
when I was in Pune, and I was terrified. Like, how does this work? And back then you couldn't like upload pictures and send. You had your DP and all.
DP and that's it. Like, you have... No, there's no real time shit happening.
So I remember I'm still talking about a time where I will be wearing black jeans and white t-shirt and I will have brown bag in my hand. Like that kind of shit. And that was creepy in Pune. I feel like in Bombay that it wasn't so creepy. Now I just have people who I've never met ring my doorbell and they're home and I'm like, they have sex and
hoping that it's all fine and they don't murder you. No, I mean, okay, Ranchi was, I was there till I was 15 and I had a full-blown relationship in Ranchi. I don't think I can comment on what dating's like. What I can comment on is how easy it is for two boys to be fucking each other and holding hands because everyone holds hands in small... No. That's not gay at all. Holding hands is...
no.
And everyone holds, all men hold hands.
There's Ranchi. A Russell Peters sketch about that, and it's always the pinky.
Or like it's a very like
even Marine Drive and all you see.
And again, not looking down on it, but you can totally like mingle into the crowd. Like you can just like get lost in the crowd. So no one says a thing. I remember just like male intimacy is a thing in small towns. So if I laid my head on on this boy's shoulder while we would come back from our tuition classes in a rickshaw,
Wow, such
it was
good
never like,
Kitne
oh
अच्छे
kya
दोस्त
ho
हैं.
kya raha hai. It was never that. It was like, oh tha ye to dost hai. So it's dostana. it's I am not referring to
Fuck
the
you, Karan
film.
Johar.
Yeah.
I quickly put that out.
And even in Calcutta, I remember while I was privileged to be around because I was working for, I was a journalist in Calcutta, and as a result of that, I was amongst, my friend circle was fairly exposed, to culture and to films and reality. I still had a lot of people around me who were clueless about how this works. So I remember, and bringing Dostana back into the picture, I remember going to watch the movie with a bunch of friends as in family friends. The kind of shit I had to endure while they were, like, one of them was saying, oh yuck, oh ew, ye kya ho raha hai? Oh my god, really? Like, and I just wanted to like give them a lesson.
Sure.
The sad part was the person who was doing this, her husband is gay. So
Plot twist.
I'm like
Dostana 2.
Dostana 2 तेरे घर में हो रहा है.
Yeah.
So there were so many levels of anonymity even in Calcutta, I would say, because while there's a very vibrant out gay side in very, very strong strongly queer side to Calcutta, where there is obviously a lot of this is the intelligentsia, I would say. Sure. There is also a large part of Calcutta that still believes in just like staying under the in the closet. It all changed when I came to Bombay. In fact, I was in Pune for 2 years, and But
again, I feel like somewhere, Sunetro, the fact maybe for us, for especially you and me, it's less to do with the city. It's more to do with having to finally not live with your parents.
I have not lived with my parents since I was 15.
Yeah, but I'm saying a lot of times what we feel in this small city, big city thing, I feel it's because we've had that sort of a freedom to be whatever we want to be, wherever we go, because now we don't have an aunt who will gossip, or we don't have like, you know, that kind of small-minded city, being
on your own, essentially. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But again, if you want to be on your own, you have to move out of that town or city. Otherwise, what do you do? Like, that reality doesn't exist. That you can stay in the same city where your parents also stay in another house. Ye kya hai? What is that? That reality doesn't exist as an option. So, what do you do?
I get it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm trying to like really rack my brains about how I'm feeling about this topic overall, and I think like it's when you're young and you are suddenly realizing that, oh my god, I might be gay, your hormones are all over the place. So your drives are different, right? Like, oh my god, like
it's about men.
In that sense, I would feel like frustrated, like, oh my god, I want to have sex all the time, but how do I find someone?
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
And I feel like, again, if someone's listening and they're feeling that sort of this, I feel like you have your entire life. If I could go back, I wish I would have focused on my writing and whatever things that I'm good at now. I wish I would have had that head start and channeled all that fucking pheromones and hormones and testosterone in a way where I actually worked upon what my talents are and my good qualities are. And then sex, just there's so much of it.
Yeah,
there's
it will
so
happen.
much of it.
It'll all fall in
throughout your life. So, and I promise you, whoever's listening, there was a point in my life where I used to secretly every 5 minutes go, yes, thanks for making me gay, God. Like, you know, and now I'm like, yaar, kitna sex karega? Like, bore ho gaya, you know? Like, so there is fuck tons of sex and all of that right now. Again, if anyone's listening, you're feeling stifled and you're feeling cut off and you feel like you're cut out for greater things and all, I feel like the opportunity and the tools required to be great are wherever you are in the world.
Like, don't wank off 5 times a day, wank off like once and spend the rest of your time maybe writing something. Dude, working on your inventions.
I totally digress, but I saw Spider-Man Homecoming. No, Homecoming.
Far From Home or
Far From Home. Yeah. Far From Home recently. And it's so weird throughout the movie. I just wanted Jake Gyllenhaal to fuck What's his
by
name?
the way,
What's his
yeah,
name?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland in the
yeah.
ass. I wanted him to fucking throughout
And
that movie.
they're so like daddy mentor sort of a
is that a
vibe.
Is there a thing?
They're doing.
I've seen the
they're gay
memes and
baiting.
all. I've
Yeah.
seen the memes and all.
But they're gay baiting in a nice. I mean, I'm okay with gay
I don't know. There was
baiters.
something about the way they looked at each other, even in the
Yeah,
movie.
there's
I felt
like
like they tasted each other's
intense
penis.
cum, yeah.
Like,
Like,
either they know what
definitely.
the other's butt feels like from inside, or they've tasted each other's penis.
But also, for example, Jake Gyllenhaal is someone I always identify as someone who's very comfortable with his
Jake Gyllenhaal is one of those
sexuality
guys I
and-
just want to sit around a bonfire and cuddle. Not because of Brokeback Mountain.
No. Have you
but
seen like
in general.
Nightcrawler? God, oh my God.
Yeah, no, not in that movie. He's
No,
very
not
weird.
that character,
Yeah,
but
he's
like
very-
someone who can do that.
Yeah,
Just, I mean,
yeah. Except Okja, I think Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okja
is
was
he was
weird.
peculiar in that
Yeah.
way. But sorry.
we should do an episode on just like gay baiting.
Oh my God. I think we did on Keeping It Queer, like how brands try to like nowadays trap gay people into like marketing.
Yeah,
They look at us as an audience now. Okay, but we dove into pop culture, which I think even now, that's the thing, right? In what you said earlier, that your kind of interest in art and movies and the kind of music, you felt so cut off. But I feel like, again, with the internet, regardless of where you live anymore, whether you live in Itarsi in Madhya Pradesh or you live in fucking Yavatmal and Dhule in Maharashtra, I feel like you now have...
access.
You have access.
You have the beginnings of access. However, that's the beginning of the
you
journey.
have access to all the things you love and enjoy, and then you have a way to connect with people around you who also enjoy those things. I feel like in the 90s, what we felt, again, a little stifled was because we know we like these certain things, but we did not have anyone to share that with, but now I feel like if I go...
But when was the first time you saw an out gay person in front of you?
Oh my God. Who was the first? I have an uncle who's out and gay, but the thing is, I saw it in a very wrong light, because back then I felt like my family, all of them grew up together. He was always made fun of because of being gay, but obviously he was accepted and he was a part of their clan and everything, and he was okay with them being gay. But there was always a... Neville, such a dandy, such a this. You know what I mean? So he was like your caricature that you see in Bollywood movies even till today, or as you've always seen.
But
he
have
was
you
always
had,
poked fun
like I'm
at.
saying, out gay person as in you've had a conversation with the person?
No,
like
I
that.
never.
When was the first
I
time you did? What was the first time? Where and what? Like what time? When was this?
This was over MSN, I feel. I met...
So it was
I think
dating.
you might know him also. Pune boy, kind of popular. But like... not dating or anything. I was in a call center and he was openly out back then, like to his family and stuff. And the thing was, I felt confused because I finally met someone who was, again, he was down. He had seen all the movies I had watched. He was kind of caught up with what I was caught up with. So I was matching with him on that wavelength, but he wanted sex. And I did not want to have sex. So there was some sort of a disconnect there. But that was the first time I remember. Again, in that sense, I feel like where I grew up was a little bit of a small city vibe. But yeah, I remember like he would always make an extra effort to come all the way to because this is even before cell phones, honestly. No, wait, we had MSN, but I did not have a cell phone. I had access to a computer, but I did not have a cell phone until much later on. And he would like...
So, 15 years in Ranchi, obviously I'm not counting 15 years. I would say the last 3 years when I started discovering myself. Even after that, over the next 15 years, whenever, till like 2.5 years back when I was in Ranchi, I still don't know a single out gay person in Ranchi. I don't know of, and my family doesn't know of. So that's the...
What about Dhoni? Sorry, I just had to.
Did I not say I hate cricket? No, so that's what
What's
it is.
Ranchi popular for apart from Dhoni?
the asylum.
What asylum? I have no idea.
India's
Please educate me.
foremost, like there are two two of the most.
I thought that was Agra.
Agra and Ranchi are the most sophisticated psychiatric institutes in India.
Okay.
That's the claim to fame.
Oof, amazing.
But coming to that
God.
point, so that's what I'm trying to say. If you do not have visibility of someone out, then like you don't even. The first time I saw a fully fleshed out gay man was Will and Grace.
Oh, you mean...
No. I'm saying, so I had a television tell me what this person needs to be.
Okay.
And I had no idea.
Okay.
So
okay, now you are talking and someone in a very small city is feeling, because there's a good chance someone till date still feels all the things you felt back in the 90s. You know what I mean? What would you say to that kid or that person? Like, I know that's a heavy loaded this, but like, what's
I think the one thing I would say is, first and foremost, if you feel different, like you were saying, what makes you stranger makes you very, very beautiful. Like, own being weird. Second, do all the things you want to do. Do whatever you want to do. Just make sure you get to a point of self-dependency. Like, take the power of money away from everyone
That's an
around
important
you.
one. That's a big one.
Because if you want to live your authentic life, take the fucking power of money away from others. And this is not to say rebel against someone. This is to say own the power and make sure no one else. And third is be okay for some struggle. Because beyond that struggle, you will have a trade-off. You will struggle. And beyond that, you will come to this space of this oasis of
you're saying be okay with struggle,
like prepare for struggle.
I would say like constantly be prepared for struggle, because it never ends. The struggle never ends.
That's what. So if you think that life's going to be peachy and rosy, it's not. And so if you want to live your own life, there will be struggle, that the dividends of which will result in you being able to live your life. So I always tell, there's so many people who I've told, I had to come, when I came to Bombay, I lived in a bloody like chawl, so I was okay with that because the dividend was freedom. Being myself, living in my own space without having to depend on anyone. So that's what I would,
I would say you pretty much covered all of it, but I would say just work on yourself, on your talents, because I feel, again, a lot of times I hear this, you are so lucky you're in Bombay, and I immediately find myself telling them why I'm unlucky I'm in Bombay, because it's ridiculous to live in a city. So all the notions that you might have that living in a city, like suddenly you'll be surrounded by hotter men. Because here's the deal, right? You might, now let's say you go to New York and you get invited to the fascinating, what is that, white party? What is that?
Oh, God,
you can be surrounded by an ocean of the hottest men alive, but if you don't have that connection with a single human being, you'll always feel lost and lonely and alone and all those things. And a connection can be made anywhere then, regardless. It's not a big city thing, it's not a small city thing. You find anyone, you hold on to it, and there are ways to connect now. Again, I'm not just entirely saying internet, but today, whether it's Netflix or whether it's like what you read or what you will find a person around you who is this idea that you are unique and nobody else is unique. Which is what I thought, right? Like a lot of times when you go back to Ranchi, you feel, but I feel like if you really look, there is somewhere a person who might not know all the movies you watch and all, but you might have something to learn from someone around you. So I feel like, just don't focus on the sex bit, because there's enough of it. Trust me, there'll be a lot of it.
And it's so important to know today and forever that you are so much more than your sexuality. You know, it's
Yeah,
so
man.
important. I think we, at that point of time, we think this is it, right? This is what defines us, and there is nothing else.
That's so important.
It's so important to know that that's one smidge, like one small thing. That's part of the
slice of the cake.
Slice of the cake, which the many layers, like let's not go there. But yeah, so
what cake is it?
you tell me, what's your favorite cake?
What's my favorite? Seriously?
Yeah.
I like a good fruit cake. I'm
done with chocolate completely.
Cakes.
I love wet cake, wet bases.
Yeah. Oh my god, like
Trellis,
and Trex Lex.
And there's nothing for me better than so I make this cake that's like lemon rind, and I put and I do a lemon curd frosting.
So if you live in a small city and you can't find any of these ingredients, don't worry, there's Amazon.
You will find it. Nimbu hai.
Oh my god.
Nimbu and maida.
Yeah, that
and
day I
anda.
realized, that day I was on the internet, I wanted liquid smoke. You know what liquid smoke is?
Yes, of course.
And I can't buy liquid smoke in India.
But you know how to do that, right?
I have to get it shipped. But
No,
it is
but like,
ridiculously
you want
expensive.
that if you want how
Like
we veered into
a small Tabasco bottle is $4,000 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like a small Tabasco bottle of liquid smoke. And I was like, bhanchot, kya fayda itna moon pe jaake metro bana ke. Then I can't even fucking get a small Tabasco sized liquid smoke bottle online.
Dang.
So it's frustrating just living, I guess. Get used to the burn. But yeah.
But oh my god, this has been interesting.
All's well that ends well.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have any sort of things you'd like to say to us, please get in touch with us at Sunetro.
At Glitterbugged on Instagram.
And if you'd like to get in touch with me, just put out a bat signal in the sky, and I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Just look up Farhad Karkaria on Instagram, on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you live in a small city, just hold on.
Yeah.
Hold in there. What's the word?
Hang in there.
Hang in there. Hold in there. Kya hai? Udhar bhi. Don't hold in there. Hang in there.
Yep.
We will see you guys soon, and hopefully you'll hear us soon.
Hear us soon, and just keep writing to us. Tell us what you want to hear about. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We're at @IBM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. So we'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.
This is the amazing story of something awesome. Once, Chuck decided to start a podcast. And so he did. The end. Okay, that was a crappy story. But I've got some really cool stories over at my new show, The Origin of Things. On this podcast, I look at the stories of how brands came into being and sometimes evolved out of quite unexpected circumstances. And to make it really fun, I reveal the name of the brand and sometimes a category only at the very end. The show is 5 to 7 minutes per episode and perfect for trivia junkies and brand nerds, especially those with short attention spans. New episodes out every Wednesday on IVM Podcasts app or website, or any podcast app or site that you happen to prefer. End of story, they lived happily ever after.
Filter coffee is a fascinating beverage. You need to pick the right beans, blend them in the right proportion, roast them to perfection, and slow brew at the right temperature to get the perfect cup. Which is exactly like great conversations as well. You need to track down the most interesting minds, get them into their zone, and settle down for an unhurried, unscripted chat. And coffee for me is always, always, always best enjoyed with friends. I'm Karthik Nagarajan, and do share my table as I meet some of the most interesting people I know and sit them down for a strong cup of coffee and an even stronger conversation. Join me every Wednesday for a freshly brewed episode. This is not frappe. This is the Filter Coffee Podcast.